Hi, I'm Jenn Welby Gilbert from the Giving Project for Children, and I'm so excited to share today with you Rosie, Revere, Engineer by Andrea Beaty and illustrated by David Roberts. This is one of our favorite book series in our house. It's all about really creative kids and all of the journeys that they take. Today's story is about a brilliant little girl named Rosie. Rosie may seem quiet during the day, but at night she is a brilliant inventor of gizmos and gadgets who dreams of becoming a great engineer. Today's themes are perseverance and creativity. And today's question is, if you had all the materials in the world, what would you make? Now sit back, relax, and enjoy Rosie, Revere, Engineer. That's some interesting paper. This is the story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. I wonder which one is Rosie. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in her hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. While Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooped over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts. A hot dog dispenser and helium pants. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head from parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud. But Fred slapped his knee and chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed, his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," Fred hooted. "Oh, truly I do." But Rosie Revere knew that could not be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf and after that day kept her dreams to herself. And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great Aunt Rose was a true dynamo who'd worked in a building airplanes long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked into the sky. "The only thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to an old lady's dreams." That night, as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew just how to make her ant fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out to the lawn to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop that it might turn out to be. Strapped into the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The helio cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin or build with a lever or switch or a gear. And never will I be a great engineer. She turned round to leave, but then Great-Great-Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. You did it! Hooray! It's the perfect first try. This great flop is over. It's time for the next. Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. I failed, said dear Rosie. It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed. Yes, said her great aunt. It crashed. That is true. But first, it did just what it needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie. Before that, it flew. Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Come on, let's get busy and on to the next. She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life might have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. I like this. A plane named Friendship, flown by Amelia Earhart to traverse the Atlantic Ocean in 1928. So there's all these incredible inventions drawn on here. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose tied her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 build gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proud as Rosie Revere. There's great Aunt Rose, and she is flying. I love this book because it teaches us so many incredible lessons. And one of them is that we really need to celebrate failure. Failure is so important to becoming successful. Taking a look at our failures, seeing what went wrong, and fixing it and trying to make it better for the next time. MAKERSPACES provide hands-on creative ways to encourage students and all kiddos to design and experiment, build and invent as they deeply engage in science, engineering, and tinkering. For today's activity, I want you to make something in your space. Get it? MAKERSPACE. Now, get creative, but be sure to talk it over with your grown-up first. You can build a fort, get a cardboard box and turn it into something, anything. Gather popsicle sticks, toilet paper rolls, or any supplies you have lying around and create something. I have a hard time with challenges like this. I just never know what to make. But I think that's because this wasn't something that we found important when I was a kiddo. My kiddos, on the other hand, have no problem creating. My kiddo Brendan could make 1,000,000 different things out of just one cardboard box. So I think it's important to practice. I want you to practice making. I'm in awe of how creative our kiddos can be. So today I want you to be a scientist, an engineer, an artist. Make something. Or if you don't want to make something, or if you tell your grown-up about this and they eyes get really wide when you ask to make something, then just draw something instead. Get a piece of paper and some coloring tools, crayons, colored pencils, markers, whatever you like to use, and draw a picture of something you'd like to make. I would love to see these pictures. I've been loving you sending me pictures. So if you're interested in sending me a picture, you can send it to thegivingprojectforchildren@gmail.com, and I would love to respond to you. Thank you so much for sharing today's book, Rosie Revere, Engineer, by Andrea Beaty, with me. Now let's continue to develop our love of reading together. Till next time.